morning. I'm Shirley Makatangay, and it's a pleasure to welcome you on behalf of Research Team 4112 or RT-412. I am joined today by my fantastic teammates who are also representing our research team. We're all excited to present to you our research outcomes and the various insights that we've gathered throughout the study. Since CII has first introduced zero accident techniques in 1993, you have seen the statistics. As an industry, we have made a significant progress in providing a safer workplace for our employees. But as the world evolves, our safety approach must follow the same. For decades, we pursued the goal of zero accidents. Today, we recognize that the primary driver for safety is our people. Their actions, their well-being, and their belief in a culture that genuinely cares for them, values them, and protects them. So RT-412 set out to imagine, how does safety excellence look like in today's construction environment? So we are all excited to present to you the Safety Excellence Techniques, or SETs, along with its implementation guide, assessment tool, and our vision that safety is more than just a goal, but it's a shared value that we have to live by every day, every time. So without further ado, let me pass the floor to our first speaker, Wayne Standing.
Thank you, Shirley. Good morning. I want to talk about the size of the team that we put together for RT-412 to focus on this. Consisting of a cross-section of owners, contractor organizations, and academia, really to focus on driving safety improvements. The size of that team that we put together, along with the time that was allotted for us here today, really goes to emphasize the importance that CII has placed in safety performance. So what we're going to talk about is building upon what was done in the past. The zero accident techniques have been well established within CII to drive safety performance. And what we've done here is we've established what we're calling the Safety Excellent Techniques, or SETs. Our focus has been on, first, eliminating high potential events, serious incidents, and fatalities with the SETs. So, why invest the time and effort, our precious resources, into CII efforts around safety improvement and the efforts of RT-412? Well, the chart that you've seen here a couple moments earlier shows significant progress and improvement, but in recent years it's been relatively flat. Good performance, but relatively flat. That would suggest that there's an opportunity to go back in and look at where can we enhance our safety programs, our safety improvements, to continue to drive that performance. And that's the mandate of RT-412. And what we've done is focusing on serious incidents and fatalities. Why? Well, you've also seen the chart here on fatalities. Now, while any fatality is too many, in recent years, the variability that we've seen, plus serious events across our industry, suggests that there's an opportunity for us to enhance what we have in place to eliminate serious incidents and fatalities across our construction industry. And CII, being one of the leaders in that area and developing the programs. That's what we've tried to do with RT-412. So I want to highlight a moment on the journey. From the early 1990s, with the establishment of the ZATs, so they've been in place for a long time, with targeted safety improvements from CII over the years, we've gone to establishing the safety excellent techniques today. So that journey continues to build, but it's not just the safety initiatives from CII. There's been, from the 1980s to today, there's been several construction initiatives. Many of those construction initiatives had a significant impact, a positive impact, on safety performance. Things like AWP in particular, modularization, and several others have helped drive safety performance. And the key is they work in conjunction with the safety initiatives to have a comprehensive program to drive safety performance across our industries. So if I go back to the definition of ZATs, and it was mentioned here earlier, the goal and the vision of the ZATs was 0 accidents. That vision has not changed. But with the sets, we've recognized that the journey to 0 first passes through the elimination of high potential events, the elimination of serious incidents and fatalities. So while that vision hasn't changed, as you've seen in the previous chart, we have to achieve the elimination of those serious incidents and fatalities. And the behaviors and mindsets that we establish in that also help to eliminate all events. And with the serious incidents and fatalities, that's what we're achieving. So I've talked about the why, but what are these sets? There's 16 sets. Adam's going to talk to them in more detail later. Those 16 sets come across 5 categories. But what I wanted to highlight here is that 6 of them are new from the research. 10 of them existed before in CII. We may have provided some more clarity, some enhancements to them, but they existed from the prior research. And so we're building upon that work that was done and the learnings in industry. The importance of that is we're not asking you to throw out the existing safety programs that have been successful. We're asking you to go back, look at, with the tools that we provided, look at where can you enhance to assess what we have, where are there opportunities to improve and to implement those improvements, not toss out and start over. The sets that we establish, as I mentioned, go hand in hand with the CII best practices. Whether it's modularization, whether it's constructability, AWP, as I mentioned, is a key one, front-end planning, several others. They work hand in hand to provide that comprehensive program. Now, RT-412 has developed a set implementation guide to assist in looking at how do we implement some of these improvements if you need it in your organization, as well as an assessment tool to look at where do I have improvements in my organization. That tool's available on the app that you have today. So I would suggest at a break, maybe now is not the best time, to download that app and take a look at it and start to become familiar with its use and contents. So I'm going to hand it over to Adam here in a second. But before I do, I just wanted to highlight one last thing. The benefits that I've received personally from working in RT-412. I would strongly recommend participation in the research teams at CII and the opportunities that CII offer. From a personal standpoint, I think from personal development, it's been very valuable. But also those in-depth discussions, deeper understanding of the background and the development of activity sets or what other teams have done has been very valuable in my organization, being able to take that back and influence our safety journey and our progress in safety excellence. So I would strongly recommend it in the future for people. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Adam.
Thanks, Wayne. So I'm going to get into our research findings, and I like what Wayne just said about their journey. We started this research team almost 2 years ago, so we've spent a lot of time together. We're from various backgrounds, different industries, and it was pretty amazing that we all sat down in the room on the first day with the same vision. So how we get to these sets, it was not just an arbitrary journey. It was something that the industry has been driving, and we were proud to be a part of it. As we had spoke before, we split it up into 5 different categories. And the reason for that was just for easier implementation, because like we said, there's an implementation guide that you'll be able to download, and it helped your organization to know where you're at when you need to implement each one of the processes. Your organization may have a planning or may have training. You may have these things already established, and we're allowing you to be able to plug into whatever part of the sets that your organization may need. So before I get too deep into my slides here, I want everybody to look at the charts, because I know that's what all y'all want to do is, hey, there's some charts here I can look at. But don't get too caught up in the numbers right here, okay? What we want to illustrate here is the numbers on the left are basic implementation of the sets. And on the right is comprehensive implementation of the sets. And what that allows us to do is you can see the delta between. So there's a definite benefit of us being able to implement these sets. There also, you'll also see some different measurements on there, such as SBLI or TIRI, and that's how that our research team and our academics put together the research. So everything that we're talking about here, it wasn't just a bunch of safety guys kind of sitting out in a room trying to guess things and make things up. This is all backed by hard data, by many companies, many hours. So it's very valuable information that we're being able to share today. Our first category is planning. Planning starts before a person hits the ground, before anybody gets to any job site, right? If we wait until our people are there to start planning safety, we're too late. So what we have to do is make sure that as organizations that we use pre-construction safety planning. It's engineered, it's designed into what we do on a day-to-day basis. From there, we have to make sure that our people out in the field know what they're going to be doing. We have to make sure that they have a task outline, what the steps of that task are, what the hazards that are associated with those tasks are, and then also what the mitigating factors are that we're going to put in place to keep our people safe. But this is just not a check-the-box exercise that we want our people to do. We want to make sure that our employees are knowledgeable of the tasks they're performing. We want them to be able to understand, is this an anomaly in my task? Do I need to stop here? Do I proceed? Is this the next step? And it also makes us more proficient in what we do. If our employees know what the next step is, then we're going to be faster and more productive in what we're doing while being safe at the same time. It's a win-win. The next thing we've got to do is look at our subcontractors. Some of you in here may be subcontractors. For us as contractors, they're very valuable to what we do. They do jobs that we do not do. They're specialized. And 9 times out of 10, they're doing jobs that are highly hazardous. So we have to make sure that we have a process where we can analyze our subcontractors, understand what their weaknesses are, and be able to help support them with the mature practices and cultures that we already have ingrained. Next is knowledge and training. For us to be able to be successful on these complex projects, we have to have a trained and knowledgeable workforce. And that starts when they get to our projects. We always talk about project orientation, but from a company standpoint, and that's great. We want people to be welcomed into our companies. But at the same time, once they arrive onto the site, they need to know what their expectations are. What are the hazards that they're going to be facing on that job? As leadership, what are our values that we're pushing out to them to make sure that we're building a culture? Some of these projects may not be long-term, and it's hard to build a culture really fast. So you have to have that from the very beginning, because if you don't, you're going to lose them and you're going to be playing catch-up. As I spoke with the subcontractors earlier, we do perform highly hazardous tasks internally as well, and that's where our competency-based training comes into play. We have to make sure that before we send people out to do jobs that could be severe injuries or fatality or life-critical activities, that they have the proper training to do that activity. Things like confined space entry, trenching and excavation, lockout, tagout, all of these different competencies need to be established before any employee is exposed to those types of hazards. And then after we have everyone trained, we have to make sure that we have organizational learning. If something happens, when something happens, we have to be able to share the information, prevent the silo effect from us learning here and not learning there, be able to cross-functionally share information between our organization. As long as we can be able to share information in that factor, then we'll be able to prevent injuries in other areas of our organizations. Our next category is monitoring. We started out with planning. We've got all of our people trained. We're performing the work out in the field. The thing that we have to do is make sure that we're working our plan, correct? So as we're working our plan, we want to use safety leading indicators. Our safety leading indicators are our magic 8 ball that tells us what's going to happen in the future, so that before something happens, we can predict what's going to happen to them. We're all probably pretty accustomed to using our lagging indicators, and they definitely have a place in industry, but as you'll hear, the ongoing motive in our research team is the word proactive. We want to be proactive. We want to address injuries and illnesses or anything else that we're going to face in the job site before they happen. The next set that I'm going to discuss is our near-miss reporting. And I'm sure that if anybody in here is halfway involved in their organization, they're going to know that near-miss reporting is super hard. You have to have an employee that's going to admit that they did something wrong, basically, for us to be able to learn from it. And it's very hard to ingrain that into a craft employee or even into your lower level supervision. But what we have to do as organizations is make sure that we're supporting that effort so that when they do come forward, hey, I have a near miss, something happened, nobody's hurt, no property's damaged, that we don't chastise them for reporting those types of injuries and illnesses or potential injuries and illnesses. And that's a very difficult thing for many organizations, and that's why this made it into one of our sets, or stayed as one of our sets. Field verification and validation is our next section. We're making sure that the plan is working as we had outlined it. But this also is an area for us to be able to reflect and say, okay, the plan, as the engineers designed, I'm sure most of you know, it don't always go like what it says on the prints whenever you get out in the field. It doesn't translate every time. So we have to be sure that we're adaptable out in the field and able to make changes and know that we need to make those changes. And we do that by going out, being involved in ensuring that we're validating our people's works and that the plan is being followed. The next one in this section is safety audits and inspections. And probably most of you think of that as some safety guy, kind of like myself, going out with a checklist and marking up some things on a board and then telling everybody what they did wrong. Well, that's not what we want. We need safety and audits and inspections need to be performed by more than just safety professionals. They need to be performed by the project management. They need to be performed by frontline leadership. They need to be performed by the craft themselves through observation programs. And when you culminate all these into one section, then this is going to help you have a successful monitoring program. And dovetailing into what I was just talking about, we were talking about involvement. Involvement is key. All right, our executive leaderships tell us what our values are. They tell us how we're going to produce the work in the field. And we have to have their leadership in order for it to go down to every level. We also have to have frontline supervisors' involvement. This is probably one of the hardest jobs in any industry. That frontline supervisor is wearing every hat that your organization has at the lowest level. He's the first level of safety. He's the first level of HR. He's the first level of quality control. And you have to make sure that that individual is bought into your values and culture so that they can pass that down to the craft employees. And then on the backside, we have to empower our craft employees. We have to make sure that they feel that they have a voice in the operation, that what they think matters. And if we can involve all these elements of our organization, then we will be able to be successful on our projects. The last section I'm going to discuss is human performance. Stop work responsibility is at the top of our list. And I want y'all to understand the word that I just used. I said responsibility. You may have heard it in other circles, stop work authority. Authority is not something that has to be done. That means you can if you want to. In our opinion, it is your responsibility, it is everyone's responsibility to stop work if there's something that could occur or that things are not going as planned. And we have to make sure that we are assessing this for our people and that they have that power to be able to stop the work when it's required. Next is employee well-being programs. And employee well-being encompasses several different elements. Not only do you need a physically capable workforce, but we also have to have a mentally capable workforce. A lot of the projects that we're producing are highly complex, and we need to make sure that they are of sound body and mind. And then finally, behavior-based observation programs. We need these for that reflection, that mirror of our organization, where our employees can speak up and say, these are the things that are going well, and these are the things that we need to improve on. And that way we can learn from our mistakes. As Wayne had brought up earlier, we didn't change a lot. We added the 6 new ZATs, or sets, excuse me, and whenever we added these, we also added some different things and made changes to some of the old ones. So the ones that didn't make the list aren't necessarily less important. And the ones that are ingrained into our organizations now are things like safety incentive programs and staffing for safety and contract type. So we don't want to take away from the ZATs that did not transition to sets, but they are very highly important and they still need to be in your programs today. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Gambatiz.
Thank you, Adam. One of the things that Wayne talked about and then Adam dug into in a lot of details is the what. Wayne also talked about the why. We've got why, we've got what. What I'm going to talk about a little bit is the how. And as we went through all of our meetings and we developed these sets, we realized that many companies are doing all of these already. And what distinguishes one company from the other is perhaps how they implement it, the quality of the implementation. And that's one of the important aspects that we realize when we go to safety excellence is the quality of the implementation on the project and also from one project to the next, from one division to the next, from one region to the next within an organization. So we realized that we needed to provide some implementation guidance for that so that you understand how to implement it at a high quality. So we have a few documents here. The first one that I want to talk about is an implementation guide. And this is our primary document where we describe quite a bit of detail about each of the sets. Adam provided some information, but this goes into a lot of detail about each of the sets individually and what it's about and how to implement it. And we have a step process, as you can see here in the diagram. It starts with a need. Maybe there's some issue on a project where you're struggling with a certain type of incident, or you're maybe bringing in another crew, or you're maybe you've got some new project coming in that you're really worried about, so you identify that need. If you haven't already, then you become familiar with the sets, and you're familiar with the implementation guide and the tool, so you've tried it out, you understand it, so that familiarity is important. Next, we have conducting that set assessment. That set tool is available in the app. You can download it. You can conduct an assessment with that set assessment tool. And I'll show you a little bit here what it looks like. But provide that assessment, and then once you have that assessment, you can identify the gaps in the knowledge, the gaps in your safety program. Basically, you're saying, what is the health of my safety program in terms of sets? Do I have a good implementation of those sets? Are they all implemented? Are they implemented with a lot of quality? Don't forget, as we said earlier, there are supporting safety practices and supporting work organization and planning practices that are very important to the safety aspects of your projects in your company. AWP, modularization, all of those fit together, and they go into this equation. Once you get that, create a plan, implement that plan, monitor that plan, and then go back and refine it and so forth if you need to. So that's the implementation guide. A little bit about the tool itself. It's based in Excel. Download it, use it. If you want, you can ask us questions about it. We'll be able to share what we learned about it. It basically says, how well are you implementing your sets on the project? And it's going to give you a score. There's a user's guide, there's a definition sheet, and so forth. What you're required to do is you're required to put some information, as you can see here, about the project itself. So each of the different categories, planning, knowledge and training, monitoring, involvement are assessed, as well as each of the individual sets with questions about each of the sets. Mention whether it is well implemented, partially implemented, poorly implemented, or so forth. So fairly easy structure there. We do the behind the scenes with all the research data that we gathered, and we get out an output that looks something like this, where there are a number of charts. You can see the obtained set score in blue for all the 16 different sets on the left-hand chart there. On the right-hand chart is a scorecard for each of the different 5 categories: planning, knowledge and training, involvement, and so forth. And then a speedometer dial there, a graphic to show where you are on your set journey on this project. So we encourage that use for practical implementation and to make sure that you are on track for set implementation. In addition to that, we learned a number of other things that we'd like to share with you. Research explores many different things, and we met our objective of creating the sets. But there are other important things that we think you as a company could benefit from, and I'd like to talk about those for a minute here real quickly. And the first one is, we know a lot. We know a lot about safety. And I was a participant in one of the first Making Zero Accidents reality study, and I've learned a lot as a faculty member studying safety over the years. And we've done many different studies, and CII has been successful in completing all of these studies and impacting practice. In addition to that, there's practices and research outside of CII that should be combined, very good research. So combine that together as you develop your safety knowledge. Secondly, that little box there, that RT-412 box, is important. The team is very valuable to us as researchers. Lots of experience. Bring that experience in. They know what happens on that construction site. Bring it in, tap their knowledge, and join it all together, and you'll get these new and improved ZATs or sets. A few items of data that we'd like to share with you as well is our research was very comprehensive. And we learned that we needed to tap into many different pieces of information and data and knowledge. That we needed to do so that we have a very comprehensive look at our safety performance. The first one, the existing knowledge in databases. The 603 number there, we evaluated some fatality assessment and control evaluation reports from NIOSH, 600 of them, mapped them out, coded them, and so forth, analyzed them. So that archival knowledge, you probably have that in your organization that you can tap into as well. Contemporary safety performance is something else that we thought we needed, and that's both wide range and deep. And so we looked at some surveys at the organization level, and then also at the project level. We can't just do organization, we need to do the project level also. And so 145 survey responses, 33 interviews over a wide spectrum of the industry. Lastly, there, number 3, we said, okay, this input from the surveys and the interviews is good, but what's safety on the ground? What does it really look like in the trenches? As Adam mentioned, it's the people on the ground, in the field, who are really making the decisions. And we need to understand how it translates from the boardroom to that trailer to the field, what goes on in the field. So we did 8 ethnographic studies. Anywhere from a few days to a few weeks we spent on a project and really dug in to that. We also had a very experienced team, as I already mentioned, and we did quite a few what we call Delphi studies, which are internal surveys where we tap into their knowledge. We use the data, as Adam showed you, to look at what are the sets, but we also generate consensus amongst the team. They've got a lot of archival knowledge within themselves, and so we use that to our advantage. And lastly, we recognize, as I said, we need some resources to make sure that the industry knows how to implement these. And so we've developed that assessment tool and that implementation guide for you. We don't want it to just sit on the shelf. We want you to use it. A few other things that are important to realize, and we've mentioned them here along the way, I want to stress them, is sets aren't the only thing. We have other safety practices that we implement, whether it's designing for safety, owner's role in safety, last minute change. You can see some of the things there, the topics there. So don't forget about those. Integrate those, implement those as well. In addition to that, we have other supporting work, organization, and planning practices that CII has successfully developed and researched. And those, as we said earlier, are key to our safety programs also. We need to integrate safety into those programs. We need to combine those programs with our safety program as well. And then we have this whole safety management framework that's important. So when we do that, we are better together all around our whole project. And lastly, for me, I think we are realizing in our industry in safety management and even in safety research that we need to go beyond simply preventing the negative. Obviously, we want to prevent industry or injuries and fatalities, right? Preventing that negative. But maybe we want to promote the positive as well. Promote these positive traits that we want in our field staff, in our superintendents, our managers, our executives. What are those positive traits? They are presence, being present, having skill, leadership, integrity, motivation. And when we do that, then they do the right thing right from the start. And so your safety programs should, and the sets do, try to promote these positive traits and these values that we want to have in our workers. With that, I'm going to hand it over back to Shirley, and she's going to take us to the end.
Thank you, Dr. Gambatis. So to conclude, to truly prevent incidents, injuries, and most importantly, fatalities, we must embrace an integrated approach to safety. What do I mean by that? It means recognizing that sets are more than just check boxes in the system. This is the backbone of an effective, high-performing management system. As mentioned and highlighted by my teammates earlier, SETs are strengthened by supporting safe work practices, thoughtful work organization, and effective planning. SETs drive positive values and delivers measurable improvements towards project safety performance. When there's a strong performance, there's a momentum that fuels continuous improvement that not only elevates project performance, but elevates organizational performance as a whole. So if we will ensure that safety is embedded within our culture, the project performance will follow. Projects will collaborate better, team will collaborate better, and most importantly, we are sending our employees back home to their family and loved ones safely every day. SETs are our bridge from compliance to safety excellence. Moving to SETs means we are moving beyond the mere boundaries of compliance. It is more than a process. It is a mindset. So how are we going to transition from ZATs to SETs? The good news is we only have 3 steps to follow to do so. But before we proceed with these 3 steps, we must have 2 essential ingredients to have. These are the SET assessment tool and the SET implementation guide. The SET assessment tool is now available in the app. Please download them. Please be familiar with them and share them. And we can now go through with the 3 steps on how we can move from ZATs to SETs. The first one is assess. Use our SET assessment tool to evaluate your current safety practices and performance. This will give you a clear picture on where you currently stand. Second, act. Take action. Upon identification of the categories or improvement areas that we need to consider, use our implementation guide to tailor the techniques to your project needs and context. Last but not the least, link, align, integrate. Integrate SETs into your existing initiatives and programs. This alignment will ensure that safety excellence is part of your organization's DNA and not a separate effort, but a unified one. So why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about SETs? Why are we focusing on SETs? Look at the statistics. It is because we still have employees losing their lives on the job. And this must stop. This can stop. Each one of us has the power to make the change. Each one of us here can be a reason for someone to go home safely back home to their family and loved ones. Together, we can break the cycle. Together, we can save lives. Because safety is not just a responsibility of one person. It's not a responsibility of one function, of one department. It is a commitment from all of us. Each one of us plays a crucial role in making sure that safety is not just about following it. It is a value that we need to live by every day, every time. So before we end our presentation, let me leave you a question that I would like you all to reflect on. Are you set for safety? Are you truly prepared for safety, not only with your systems and tools, but with the mindset, the values, the unity that it will take for us all to achieve safety excellence across the industry? Thank you.
Amazing job, team. That was awesome. So we have a couple of questions for you guys. So I'm going to start with the first one. Which SETs have the greatest impact and how many should be implemented on a project?
Adam, would you like to answer that?
Absolutely. So as I spoke in my presentation, there are several different places where you can join in with the SETs. If you have no implementation at all, then you can start at the very beginning. Or once you've used our tool, it'll tell you which SETs that you actually need to implement. So it's very important that you download the tool and see where you're at for your organization.
Okay. Next question. What do you think are the main reasons safety performance has plateaued in recent years despite ongoing efforts?
Wait, would you like to take it?
Sure. So one thing to recognize is with CII companies, safety performance has been very good. If you look at the overall industry chart, it has been going down. It has been still improving in CII companies as well, but where we're plateaued is at very low rates. That's why with the sets, it's go back and look at assessing, analyzing where the opportunities are to improve, and the key is then implementing those improvements. It is a journey. We're getting to the point where it's important to bring in the human performance element, along with that, to drive those improvements. And again, like in the safety excellent techniques or the sets, we want to focus on first making sure that we've eliminated those high potential events and situations and creating that mindset across the organization. So our performance has been very good in CII companies, but again, there's still opportunities to improve.
Thank you. Next question. What surprised you most about your research findings?
Dr. Gambatis?
Sure, that's a hard one.
Because I gave it to you.
Save it for me. You know what, I've been around safety research for 30 years or a little bit more, I can't count. I think one of the things that really surprised me in a good way was the talk about positive values and traits. Because over my career, we're obviously focusing on eliminating injuries and fatalities. But I think in the future, and we talked about it here as a group, where the top performing companies are going is more towards this creating the positive or preserving the positive, promoting the positive, in addition to preventing the negative, right? And when you do that, you get a workforce that listens. You get a workforce that understands, that accepts, that is willing to go with you on this journey. And you promote those skills and those behaviors like integrity and leadership, presence. All of those make a difference. And that's something that really came out of the research that surprised me a little bit, as we really need to focus on that in the future. And perhaps that's more research that CII could do to focus on that in more detail.
Nicole, if I can add to that as well, what I've learned and seen from the research as well, we were able to come up with this outcome because of the passion from everyone within the team. We came from various companies, we do different things, but one thing is common, is we'd like to protect our employees and make sure that they are safe every time.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I think we share the same sentiment, right? One of the greatest benefits of being on a research team is being with like-minded people and sharing that and really getting compassion about, you're really passionate about the whole group, about the overall goal. All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.